My name is Abby Maldonado, and I work on the diversity and inclusion team at Pinterest. Any Pinterest users in the room? Yeah, a few. Awesome. Cool. So I have been at Pinterest, it'll be 2 years next month, and I joined on the university recruiting team and transitioned into this diversity-focused role a little over a year ago. I'm really excited to be here today, and particularly excited for this panel because community partnerships within the ability space in tech is something that I'm looking to learn more about and hopefully incorporate more from Pinterest. So hopefully we all learn a lot today, including me. First, I'm going to have each of our panelists introduce themselves, and then we are going to run through a series of questions, kind of get into the meat of it, and we'll leave about 10 minutes at the end for audience questions as well. So with that, I'm going to pass the mic and allow Barry to introduce himself.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Barry Nelson. I'm the Associate Director of Recruitment and Outreach at Year Up Bay Area. Year Up is a national job training and internship program for young adults ages 18 to 24 years old who have been denied access to higher education or meaningful career development opportunities, particularly in the world of tech and business. We're in 16 cities across the country, and we operate in San Francisco and also in San Jose, California.
Hi, I'm Aubrey Green. I'm the Director of Employment Services at the Computer Technologies Program. As mentioned earlier in the day, CTP, we're a vocational training program for people with disabilities of all ages, and and all disabilities. And we work with consumers at the Department of Rehabilitation that is at all offices from San Francisco to Antioch. And so I'm the employment guy. There you go.
Hi everyone, my name is John Cavano. I'm an occupational therapist. The agency I work for is called Expandibility. Expandibility is down in San Jose. We help people with disabilities. Basically, we help people find work. We have a lot of different grants and different projects we're involved in, but we work with youth and adults who need some type of assistance. Either it's resume writing or how do you do an interview, those transition skills, to how do you get into a high-tech company and succeed at doing your goals. So we help with that.
Thank you all. So I think we have a really good diversity in the room of different types of partnerships and organizations. And I would love for each of you to tell us in the room about some of your current partnerships and how they benefit you as these organizations, and then the organizations that you partner with, how does it add value to their organizations? And I'm going to start with you, Aubrey.
So when it comes to partnerships for CTP, we deal with people with disabilities. So when it's important, whether I work with transitional age youth coming out of the special education programs, we are people that are older that have large employment gaps. It's important that when we transition our consumers into employment, that we transition them in a successful way, like in terms of setting up for success. So we're really delicate with our partnerships in terms of providing internships. Our partnerships come in various different forms. We work with small businesses, nonprofits for internships. We work with companies for mock interviews. We also work with companies for supported job placement. So companies work with us, and I work with companies to provide them qualified candidates, not just because people have a disability, but because they happen to have a disability and they're qualified individuals for the jobs. So that's really important for me when I talk to people about partnerships, because I do want to let them know that we do have qualified individuals at CTP for these various different technical related positions. But yeah, the partnerships that we do typically fall under those categories.
Sure. So we have, the idea of partnerships at Europe is pretty wide ranging. So we have our community-based partnerships, so other nonprofits in the workforce development space, high schools, adult education schools, community colleges, public workforce development programs, who are focused on supporting our sort of target demographic, that's young adults ages 18 to 24, gain access to careers beyond sort of entry-level job. So we hope to position our students, our grads, for success in higher education or careers. So we often work with community partners who can sort of help build that sort of admissions and career development pipeline. That's on the community side of our partnership spectrum. On the other side, we'll have companies like some of the sponsors here. So companies squarely in the world of tech, like Salesforce, a Yelp, an eBay, a PayPal, to companies who are in financial services, so Bank of America, JP Morgan Chase, Bank of the West, to healthcare partners like Kaiser and CPMC. So we are providing sort of coached and developed and trained talent. So when we lead partnership development with our corporate partners, it's really from the lens of providing a talent solution for their talent needs. So we provide the training, the coaching, development, the management, but sort of what the value proposition is sourced talent from a diverse place that they probably were not seeking talent from before.
Sorry. Well, we're a nonprofit agency, and we work very closely with the Department of Rehabilitation. A lot of our clients come through them. We have a transitional age youth grant where we get kids referred to us to the different school districts in our area who need help with transitional services. But the reason I'm here today is to talk about a partnership we have with SAP. A couple years ago, they asked us to do or implement a training to help folks with autism get into a high-tech job. And these are people who have a college degree in computer science. They just have had some difficulty finding that job. They might be out of work about 1 or 2 years since they were graduated because of some challenges they've had getting into just getting their foot in the door, I guess. And so this training called Autism at Work helps people with that. They I don't know, should I go into that much kind of detail about what it's like? Okay. So I'm one of the trainers. What we do is we gather about, we make a call out to the Department of Rehabilitation. They always have these clients that they're not sure how to place them into jobs. And we want to give them that opportunity. So we talk with them, we vet them, and then we put them into this program. And the idea was to do a 4-week training going over a lot of the things that someone would encounter in a high-tech job. We talk about Scrum or Agile. These are things that I had to kind of learn on myself. How to do testing or quality assurance, because these would be some of the jobs or some of the people that they would be encountering or working with in these high-tech jobs. But they do it in a very unique way. We implement this training using Lego Mindstorm robots. The idea is the first week you're learning about the robots and then how they work, and then the second week you're getting together with a partner or a team, and you're working on a community project. How can this robot help somebody in the community? And what's very interesting is these are people who have a lot of difficulty standing up in front of an audience and talking about something they did with other people. And you see this whole different side of them. And what the aim is for managers and hiring managers and team members in SAP, they could see this. They can see this other side of this person that they may have just like, oh, I don't know, he doesn't look at me in the eye when I talk to him during an interview. He has this kind of funny movements. We're not sure. We're not going to talk about that, but we're just going to say we're not sure. But they get to see this person in a whole different light, and it gives them an opportunity to say, oh, well, you made this robot. How did you do that? And they have this conversation that they may not have had normally. So it's been a really great opportunity for us to kind of learn about the high-tech field, but also SAP gets an opportunity to have a more diverse group of people that they're hiring. They get these people who have a really interesting perspective on their products and how to implement them and how to do all the quality assurance, all the programming that they have to do, and that big high-tech company like this may not normally get if they didn't have this type of pool to hire from.
Oh, what is SAP?
I'm not from SAP, so I will try my best to answer this question, but SAP is they do enterprise software. They make software that other companies will use. The big one that they do is, what is it called? You know what you do your yearly review and you send out a message to everyone has to do their goals, right? So they have something that's online or on the cloud where everyone has to answer these questions, and that's how they conduct their reviews. So it's all done online. So that's one of the aspects of SAP.
And I think the last point you made around the value that these candidates from different types of backgrounds can add to an organization is really key. And one of the arguments that I've made as someone internally at a company as to why we should work with different partners on the diversity and inclusion side. So I think that's a really, really important point. What's the experience been like in terms of identifying which partners you're going to work with and making sure that they're aligned with the goals of your organization so that you're both going to get the value out of the relationship that you want? Can you kind of walk us through what that process looks like? I think that's a little bit murky for some people in terms of how do these partnerships even come to be. Maybe start with you, Barry.
Sure. I will say first off, functionally, that's not my area of focus, but I can walk you through that process. I'm well versed in it. So oftentimes, being that we're a nonprofit organization, oftentimes that begins with a champion within the organization. So someone who is familiar with Year Up, either as a sort of someone who has helped fund Year Up, someone who has volunteered time and talent as either a tutor, a mentor, some sort of academic coach, or guest instructor or lecturer. So oftentimes it starts there. We begin a conversation, whether it could be sort of in HR, it could be in the CIO's office, or it could be in a corporate social responsibility office. So we're first looking for an avenue of entry. Once we have that, then we sort of present our value proposition to them, which is we can help you source talent from a diverse talent pool that you may not have had access to before, or you may not be familiar with how to navigate. So it really depends. There's a wide range of how we begin the conversations. I think in an ideal place, we want to be having conversations with HR departments with us because we're technology based in the office of the CIO or CTO. And then from there, we sort of survey the landscape. It could be through sort of an internship program. As an example, at Google, we are the only internship program they work with for interns who don't possess college degrees. So it really depends on the organization, but oftentimes it starts with the champion, and we've been fortunate enough to have leaders of organizations leave, say, a Salesforce and go to a PayPal and sort of bring the recognition and the value of a Year Up with them. So we have someone who can vouch for us there. So it sort of begins in different places, and it's sort of not a cookie cutter process, but oftentimes it has to be distilled down to are our students and then are our alums who are hired there adding value to the company, whether it's through diversity or through the sort of the strict competencies that they're bringing to the job.
That's awesome. And I love the point about how you're the only organization that Google will partner with people without formal college degrees. And I know that must have not been an easy nut to crack. Can you talk a little bit about how you overcame that challenge with Google?
Yeah, sure. So in cases like that, there's often an opportunity for us to prove ourselves. And with Google, we happen to bring with us some sort of capital from our relationship with Facebook to the table. So we had that to stand on, among other sort of leading organizations in the world of technology. But also, so we had that with us, but we were finding the best opportunities for entry into Google were through sort of staffing agencies. And so our alums were gaining roles there. And then once we sort of had a track record there, we were bringing sort of that evidence of our efficacy and our value to the table. So with Google, we're squarely in sort of their internship program. With other organizations, maybe a Kaiser, we're viewed as sort of a talent pipeline. So the intent would be for us to bring in talent as interns that they then see down the line as potential long-term employees. So with Google, was sort of building a track record through the opportunity that was there, and that often came through contract roles and through staffing agency roles.
That's awesome. And I can definitely speak from the company perspective. When I see that a large organization that's particularly one of our competitors, like a Facebook or an Airbnb, is working with an organization, that definitely makes me think, oh, we should probably be working with them. So that can be a powerful mechanism, just getting that one partnership win. What about you, John and Aubrey? Is it a similar process in terms of identifying partners? How does that kick off, and what does it look like?
I would agree. That's exactly how we got discovered, I guess, for Autism at Work. There was a champion. His name is Jose Velasco in SAP, and his children have autism, and he had a very much of a passion to push this program forward. And when they first started this, there's autism at work all over the world, all over different sites for SAP. And when they started this in Pennsylvania, there's the ARC there, and they're an organization that helps people with disabilities with work. And they were very successful having them implement the training. When they came here, there's an ARC here as well, but something fell through or just didn't work out. And we were asked, and we were happy to help out. It's actually a big endeavor to do this training, but we were happy to do it. So I guess it was this very similar situation where it's a person who in the company who has this passion, and they're trying to find a solution in the organization. That was a very important point for them. It was to find a local organization in that area where that office of SAP is at, so they when the training is over, there's this organization there that the people who are hired can get that support after they've been working, and that's part of what the training does. We do PVSA. It's Personal Vocational Social Adjustment. It's a program that's already with the Department of Rehab to give support for a few months after the person's hired, so they have someone to talk to, someone to kind of work out any issues that come up, and then also have that maybe open up a conversation or open up that communication between them and their team or their manager, so that they can work through problems instead of having an issue come up and then no one knows what to do. Usually it's just communication. That's all we're there for, to help people communicate and talk with each other.
Well, for in terms of cultivating partnerships for us, I think we've kind of found it twofold. I mean, for identifying people, when it comes to companies, identifying companies in terms of partnerships, I've found that first we have to identify companies that actually support their own employees with disabilities, because if the likelihood of them wanting to work with us is much lower if they're not supporting their own disabled employees or even trying to encourage self-disclosure. So I mean that's one, like, I know Michael Seaver, who's the head of Kaiser's Employment Resource Group, and he's definitely been someone that has helped us out in terms of, discussing champions inside of companies. So I think once we identify notable companies with valuable employment resource groups, that they really do show not just they're established, and they show that they're really doing different programs, not just setting up a room for employees with disabilities, but actually having active programs that have ways of supporting their people with disabilities in an organized fashion. Just partnering with those ERCs and doing work with them, and seeing how we can also work with them to support their people with disabilities in a consultation kind of role, and also discuss various different apprenticeship programs, things of that nature. So those people with disabilities can kind of pay it forward, if you will, like was mentioned earlier today. Another thing is really just kind of exposing companies that don't have any internal hiring programs for people with disabilities, and kind of you have to most of these companies, it is a business, so you do have to speak to their business side of their brain. So really I've had conversations with companies about doing academies, because we find that coming out of the school district, before I came to the computer technologies program, I worked with the San Francisco Unified School District in their employment programs, and I found that there's a real lack of availability services for transitional aged youth coming out of school districts in terms of supporting them with the bridge to employment. So talking to companies about creating innovative programs that no one else is doing, to not only do something good and sustainable. I mean, that's the important part, I think, is building a program like Expandibility did with SAP that is something that can last, not just something that would be like a one-off program that kind of kaputs after a year. So I mean, I think it's twofold. Just working with people that have established internal goals, and also working with companies that have expressed wanting to do something, but they don't have anyone to help them. Because you can't just expect people to just pop out and build their own disability programs. Sometimes, like I found when I went to Tech Inclusion, I found several people speak out about how they had nobody ever approach them with about disability hiring. So I think it's on companies or organization, nonprofits, on us to be more proactive in terms of approaching people. Like, we can help you, we can support you. We won't. We're not just asking for your money, but we're offering to really help you and be a supportive role in your efforts to better support people with disabilities.
And I think that's one of those kind of unintended benefits that companies don't realize. These organizations bring in expertise that their organization currently doesn't have. So it's almost a competitive advantage in that way. So once you've kind of formed these partnerships and you're within these companies working, building these lasting relationships, have there been any unintended benefits or challenges that you've encountered? Maybe start with you, John.
Uh, unintended benefits.
Or challenges.
Well, I think what's interesting is so when someone's placed, usually we do, or at least take part in, of a disability training. It includes autism, but it's also just kind of disability awareness. And I would never know what the reaction is going to be. It's usually this big crowd of people. It's like, oh my gosh, I had no idea there was so many people in this team working with this one person, and they're all interested. They all need to be here because they might interact with this person somehow. And afterwards, you get all these very personal stories, people talking about their brother, their sister, their parents, someone who has a disability in their life, and how personal and how kind of meaningful this training was for them. And it's like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. So I guess kind of just seeing people as more as human. These are just business people that have lives just like we do, and it's not. We work with people with disabilities, but maybe they never got a chance to kind of see this in a different light, and that this is an opportunity for them to kind of express or tap into that side of them that was always there. So that I kind of like that.
It's awesome. Empathy is powerful.
Yeah, I agree.
What about you, Aubrey?
I can't say that I found a lot of unintended challenges. I think I always expect them. But I will say that kind of to piggyback on what John said, it's been a wonderful experience, especially putting on this event and contacting people that don't directly work with people with disabilities, but have a close family member or friend, and they say they just are gung ho about getting in part of this event just because they have they get personally invested. So that's something that which is why I think that these efforts in terms of having events like this affects everyone. No matter what your race or gender or all those diversity populations, disability affects them all. So I think that that's been something that I've been expected, but I didn't expect the amount of people that would come to me in that with that, because I definitely know that disability affects everyone, but I didn't expect the kind of passion that it would bring in terms of being a part of an event like this or other events I've attended. Yeah.
That's awesome. And what about you, Barry? Any unexpected benefits or challenges?
So challenges are par for the course, so nothing unexpected. But I will say, in terms of unintended benefits, oftentimes it has to do more with us being able to extend our reach into an organization. If we're working with a particular department or particular team or particular manager, and we're able to find success and add value there, oftentimes that word would spread through an organization, and then that would create more opportunities for Year Up and thus our students. Then again, back to the earlier point about, so when individuals may leave a company who we have a relationship with, they oftentimes can bring that to a new company to help us build a new relationship. So those are some of sort of the maybe like not so unintended, but the collateral benefits that occur.
And you all mentioned that the challenges aren't really ever unexpected. Why do you think that is? Like, what is the biggest barrier in forming these partnerships with organizations? What is the biggest pushback that you get? Maybe start with you, Barry.
Well, let's see. There's a couple different ways to approach that. I think that there's a long history of a way a company may have been operating with regard to sourcing talent. So they have sort of practices and policies that have been in place and have been serving them. So I think on a conceptual level, it's sort of being able to overcome that and then introduce sort of a new way of thinking and a new way of practicing sourcing talent and developing talent. So I think that's sort of the I point to as a major challenge is just sort of the history that has been going in a different direction, and we're trying to sort of correct that.
What about you, John? Any thoughts on?
Yeah, I think it's like just you're trying to change. We're trying to change the culture of this company, or they're trying to change their own culture, and they're trying to open it up in a different way. So I think that's challenging because we talk about doing that, but when it comes down to it, it can be very some of the people working with someone with a disability, if it's a very challenging situation, they might feel very isolated and they don't know who to talk to or who to get advice from or who to how to handle this particular situation if it's something new. We, like as a nonprofit organization, we try to make sure that we're available if we can to offer that assistance or help. But it'd be nicer if there was somebody on site, someone who knew about the ins and outs of just what the company is supposed to be like. They have that inside perspective, but also understand disabilities, so they can be there for that manager, for that coworker, to help that person. If it's whatever the type of situation is, it could be just simply, like I said before, just communication, just talking with this person. But sometimes you need that extra person, that other person to talk to say, yes, it's okay to talk to that person. They want to tell you what kind of accommodations they need or what kind of help they need, or they just want someone to talk to. You're allowed to do that. You're allowed to talk about your opinions or your feelings as well. So I think, but I'm not sure exactly what that looks like. I mean, that's just my opinion. That's like as an outsider. So I think changing that culture is kind of it's difficult. It's not as easy as you wish it would be or I wish it would be.
Yeah, there's definitely challenges there. Are there any models that any of you have seen work really well, maybe with other agencies, or that you have used to model your own systems after?
So the SAP Autism at Work, they also have a mentor group. So they have employees, not necessarily in the same group as the person with the disability, or at least the person with the known disability. But it could be anybody who's interested in being a mentor. So I thought that was a really great theme that we're talking about this morning about mentors. And I think it's great that people want to reach out. And it's just basically like a once or twice a month. It could be a lunch, and it could be either as a group or one-on-one, and just talking about some of the things that are going on, or the person with a disability talking about what they want to do in the job, how do they want to grow in their career. And I think that's very helpful for everybody, the person who's hired, the new hired person, but also the people in the company, just not feeling so isolated. Someone, so that they can feel like they can talk about something and work something out if there's an issue, or it could be maybe it's not even an issue. It just be something, it could be just something very mundane, but they have that connection because they're both in the company.
Yeah. Definitely. What about you, Barry? Any models?
So I can speak to sort of formal models and sort of informal ones. So back to John's point about mentorship. Oftentimes, our students are being introduced to a kind of professional and corporate culture that is very foreign to them. So the idea of sort of coaching and mentorship based on an understanding of where our students are coming from from a starting place is really, really important. So when we've been in a position to have sort of critical mass of year up alums working at an organization, we've seen some informal sort of supportive mentoring networks being built. And we've also seen that in a formal way, when an organization realizes that we have talent from year up who are ascending to management level positions, and they can support the effort to onboard year up talent and help manage the internship program.
Awesome. And I am going to open it up for questions after this last question. I think this is a really, really important one. For all the companies in the room, and that includes me representing a company, so I'm really curious about this too. What do you see, what is one thing you would like to see companies do that would help you develop new partnerships that could be successful in this space?
Well, I mean, something that I've noticed, over the years is that I would like to see companies do is provide more of a forum for multiple organizations. You know, because a lot of times, what I find discouraging is sometimes with sponsorships and dollars, many organizations commit these programs to just one organization, and it kind of creates an uncomfortable, pitting organization versus organization. And I think that companies can do a better job in terms of creating a round table of nights, if you will, and just putting people together where they can have open discussions and serving, like John and I, we work for organizations that serve a similar population. You know, we CTP has a high population of people on the autism spectrum as well. So I mean, just bringing organizations together and serving our consumers as a whole, instead of having my partnership over in this corner and John's partnership over in that corner, and but rather coming together and serving the more of a bigger population, if you will, and really giving these companies the best of the population that we can offer. So I think that companies just coming together and allowing working with multiple companies. I think that's the most important thing, is allowing that and giving more of a bigger forum to multiple voices.
Coalition building is key. What about you, John?
Get involved with networking organizations like the Business Leadership Network, the USBLN, and make that a forum for asking these questions and you're not sure about. And then when you have jobs, offer them to to organizations like Expandibility, or your local organization, because we have people who want those jobs. And if you need help or you have questions, reach out to us, and we're happy to help. If we need to do a training, we need to just explain something about disability, we're very, very willing to help, because we want to get people hired.
At a high level, I'd say that we'd like our partners to, and this is the case for many of them, to sort of to trumpet our partnerships and to publicize them to companies in their landscape or in their professional network. So, and we certainly have partners who are very, very proud of the work that we've done together in partnership, and encourages their employees to become aware of Year Up and who's in the building working alongside of them. But at a high level, I'd say I'd like to see our partners take effort to publicize the partnership and make sure that the work we're doing together is visible. And again, sort of that track record allows us to go to other potential partners and say, there is valuable work being done, and we are adding to an organization, but also there's a way for you to sort of demonstrate your sort of mission alignment with the work we're doing.
And those companies oftentimes have the capital to elevate that message, because whether it be finances or whether it be reputation, they oftentimes have that. So that's
Yes,
key.
they do.
Awesome. So we would like to open it up to questions from the audience now. So you in the back? Well, first of all, I think the companies have a responsibility to do more. And, you know, it's a two-way street. So I think companies, first of all, need to do a better job reaching out to those communities and doing a better job of understanding the needs of those communities. But I also think a lot of companies are, there's different like corporate social responsibility roles that are popping up and making these partnerships. So for example, at Pinterest, we have someone specifically tasked with community partnerships and community engagement within our neighborhood. We are in the Soma neighborhood in San Francisco, and we don't want to just be the tech company that comes in and has no idea about the rich history of that area and completely ignores what's right outside of our doors. And so we're really trying to make sure that we are integrating that into even our orientation. So we actually do a walking tour of Soma, and we go and we are right down the street from two SROs, and we deliver meals every Friday with our new hire class, and we've really tried to make that a part of what we do as a company. So I think companies are starting to make that effort, but I definitely think companies need to do more in terms of understanding. And then in terms of I think what you can do, like finding those people within those organizations and trying to form those relationships. A lot of companies are even open to like doing tours and like bringing them in, because so many students or even just people that live in our neighborhood, for example, have never set foot inside of a workplace, not even, or a tech company, and they come in and they're absolutely floored by, you know, what is being offered by these companies. And I think we have to make sure that we're being welcoming and showing people what is possible. So I think it's companies need to do more, and then just continuing to come to events like these and engage with organizations so that you can make those relationships. Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. It oftentimes gets missed. They just throw money at it. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for your question. The back.
Well, I think that like something that has been like in terms of especially serving a disability population, I think something that that I found again coming out of the school district that can be improved across all employment platforms is retention services. So I mean, I know CTP we initiated a career service club, so it allows because oftentimes you know for consumers that come out of the Department of Vocational Rehab, you know, once they have 90 days of employment, what they do is they close their case and they no longer are offered services through DOR. So this service clubs that we started enables us to, you know, serve, you know, consumers that we have ongoing with no ending date. So, and that also for companies that we partner with, it also allows us to keep communications with them open. So if there's any way that we can support them in supporting our consumer that's employed, we can do that as well. Because it's important anytime that we build partnerships, that especially that lead to employment, that the employers know that they're not alone. You know, that they have a support pillar, if you will, so that you know when they do have issues, we can do what we can do to help problem solve the situation. But I think it mostly comes from supporting the consumer. You know, so when they have questions about accommodations, or you know, because you know, I will have people, consumers that will quit jobs just because they're afraid to ask for accommodation. Like, you know, maybe because they have a, you know, I've had consumers in the past, for example, that had an anxiety disorder, and because their employer asked them to switch to full-time hours, they just quit because they don't know how to accommodate, and they don't know how to advocate for themselves. So programs like these allow us to, you know, support and even advocate for the consumer on their behalf so they can keep these jobs. Yeah.
I can answer that question. So again, I'll sort of make a delineation between our interns and then our corporate partners. So for our interns, once they begin their internships, they actually come back to us and spend half a day with us for professional coaching and structured advising time. So we are in tune with the intern experience through that opportunity there that happens once a week for 4 hours a week. So again, the experience at internship, we're hoping we're getting data about that and can help them navigate through that. With regard to our corporate partners, so managers actually complete 7-week evaluations of their interns. So we are getting feedback from managers about intern performance, any challenges, any bright spots, any strengths. At the end of each internship cycle, then our partner relation managers, who are essentially the account managers for each corporate partner, would then meet with sort of the manager to better understand if there's greater opportunity there, what the challenges were, how can we resolve those challenges. So we are sort of monitoring and involved in experience on the corporate partner side, but also on the internship side. And back to your earlier question about sort of what I would like to see happen, I think there is greater opportunity for organizations like Year Up to enter organizations and do some of the coaching, the training about sort of the demographic background that our students represent in terms of how to sort of support them and develop them, and then the issues that might be at play with their experience there.
Um, we definitely want to do the same type of training, but with other companies involved. What's interesting about doing the Autism at Work with SAP, I mean, they started it, but we invite other hiring managers or managers from other companies so they can see what the program is like. And that's been very cool because they get very excited about it. They want to do something like this. It's hard for them to take the first step, so it's been very slow. We've had other companies, like New Relic, has been very interested in hiring, and they've hired 2 of our candidates. We don't want to focus so much on SAP because those opportunities may not always be there. We want to diversify because not everybody is into software either. We have a lot of different types of clients, with a lot of variety of backgrounds. So that's one area, is to find other companies that might be interested in doing something like this. I would. Oh. How to make people more aware. It's difficult. I mean, we have to talk about these success stories like that one and advertise it, but it's hard for a nonprofit to do that. You know, we depend upon. I mean, I actually had a conversation with some of the people who went through the first cohort for the Autism at Work, and they just want to go to work. They haven't been working for a long time. They're appreciative of all the media and having the stories about them. They don't necessarily want to be the show pony and the people that kind of show how it's done or be the first trailblazers. They just want to be the people who got the job. But that's kind of the reality, I suppose, of what this kind of type of program, because it is so new and so different way of thinking about it. So it's just, I guess it's kind of this kind of interesting balance about that. Yeah.